Welcome back to Conversations Through Confessions. This is episode number 4. I can't believe I made it this far. I'm actually really proud of myself. But I'm excited to be here this week. I feel a little refreshed, but I'm excited because I finally get to talk about this. I finally get to have this conversation out loud. We're talking about emotional unavailability. Now, when we're talking about emotional unavailability, someone who is emotionally unavailable is someone who is not very adept. They're not good at being able to necessarily identify and or respond to emotional cues. And they're also not good at forming like emotional attachments, emotional closeness to people, right? The second part of that definition, which is forming emotional closeness to people, it was a challenge to that part of the definition that really made me sit and think like, Shay, sister, baby girl, honey bun, boo-boo, your emotional availability is like this much. And I'm gonna tell you how I discovered that. So there was a point, there was like a 3-month gap where, okay, let me start from the beginning. So I've been single for a while. We're not gonna get into specifics, but I've been single for a while. And so there was a point where I actually just like stopped dating. Like I wasn't in the headspace, and I really just didn't want to get back into a relationship yet, right? And then it got to a certain point where I was just like, okay, I think I'm ready. Like the break has been long enough. I think I've learned the lessons that I needed to learn. I've grown the way I've needed to grow. And so I'm ready. And so I started like putting myself out there. You know, I'm like, if guys would try to ask me out and stuff like that, I would entertain it to a degree. I was willing to go on dates. I was willing to be in a relationship. I was willing to get to know people. And it's bad enough that I meet representatives. And when I say representative, I'm talking about the fake persona that a lot of people put up when they first meet you in order to get you to bend to their will in terms of going out with you, talking to you, being in your life, that type of thing. So I was getting way too many representatives, but I was still open to dating and stuff. And this particular incident is what made everything like roll into one for me. So there's this one guy on the internet, and I mean, I'm like, oh my God, this man is fine. Like, he's liking my pictures, I'm liking his. Like, he slides in there. Like, we're talking to each other on and off, back and forth. And then at this point, I'm like, oh, I really like this one. Like, I'm ready to, let's go on a little datey date or whatever. Y'all, the moment this man asked me on a date, I didn't want to go no more. It's almost as if my interest said, nah, sis, the game is over. We got what we wanted. Like, he showed that he would take you on a date. Our task is complete. We can move on to the next level with another player. Like, and I had to sit with myself like, Shay, what the hell? Like, why? What was that? Why is that? What is the issue? And I realized that I was not emotionally open. I was not, as much as I was saying that I was open to the relationship, as much as I was hoping to be open to a relationship and whatnot, realistically speaking, I was only saying that because of the time span that had gone between the last relationship and where I currently was. And I was like, dang, it's been this long. Like, it's time. Like, I'm ready. I was so emotionally closed off. I would learn about like death and my face and my mouth would give an emotional response, but I didn't actually have an emotional response. I would have like friends and stuff like hug me. We're having like what would be emotional moments, and it's as if they're having an emotional experience and there's a wall between both of us, right? I'm having guys, I'm talking to guys, and guys are telling me, oh my God, I feel this connection, like we'll be great, da 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 da. It was a one-sided connection because I don't know what the heck he's talking about. I didn't feel anything, and I mean nothing. Nothing. No joy to see them, no anticipation for when they said we were gonna go out. Nothing. I could care less whether or not these people texted me throughout the day. I could care. Matter of fact, I actually kind of preferred nobody hit me up. Not potential date, friends. I was okay with all of it. Don't hit me up, I'm fine. And I'm not gonna lie, at one point in my life, that was a flex for me. I'm like, huh. Like, I actually don't need it. Like, I joke about it all the time. And I see on the internet that other people joke about it too. So I'm like, I'm not crazy. Like, other people are doing it. And it led me to realize that I wasn't open to any emotional attachment. None whatsoever. Like, not from family, not from friends, not from potential suitors, none of it. And when I sat and I thought about it, I was like, okay, Shay, what is it that's creating this block? What is it that's turning you off in this way? And realistically speaking, my emotions over the last couple of years had gone through a lot. Like, I had gone through a lot emotionally. I had been up and down and back and forth, and it's just caused a lot of disappointment, a lot of internal hurt. And I think as a coping mechanism, I subconsciously just shut it down. I shut it down. Was there a point where I was just like, okay, flip the switch? No, it just, I think with everything that just compiled on top of each other, my mind just did it on its own. And God, it took me way too long to realize. It really took me way too long to realize. And I also, in reading, I need to remember the name of the book that I was reading, but in reading this really great introspective type book, the author mentioned that we often tend to turn off our emotions our emotions tend to get shut off when there's been an overload that has been suppressed. So from 2018 to 2021, that's a 3-year gap, I had gone through so much. Some very obvious things that people know about because like it happened, like family issues, all that, obvious things, and then a lot of behind the scenes events, occurrences that nobody knew about but me. And it was all the emotions. They were all hitting me sometimes at once. Like I'll go in the span of maybe like a day. I'd go from being extremely happy to extremely sad to like ready to break things. I'm so pissed off to just numb. And then it would, like, the cycle would start over. And sometimes it would cycle throughout the day. I'm just going through these things. And then it got to a point where I had to, because of my work environment at the time and the home environment that I was in and the people that I was around, I had to suppress, like when the anger would hit me, sometimes it would hit me in the middle of me teaching. Yes, in my past life, I was a teacher. I taught elementary school. And sometimes that anger would hit me, or the sadness would hit me in the middle of me teaching. I can't break down in the middle of a social studies class or throw a tantrum in the middle of a social studies class when I have 20 kids waiting to complete the lesson. So I had to suppress that. And sometimes I'd be in the middle of my sadness. I'd be on the beach by myself, moping in my sadness and whatnot. And then somebody I know passes by. So I immediately have to snap out of it, because I can't let them see that, because again, the environment that I was in and the people that I was around, they were not going to understand it for what it was. It was going to be taken differently, and I didn't have it in me to have to deal with that. So I would immediately have to snap out of my sadness, play happy, convince myself that I'm happy in order to convince them that I'm happy, so that I can get through that interaction. And then by the time I'm done with that, I'm just drained, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. And so I think with all that overload, and then the immediate, sometimes immediate suppression of that overload, my mind just said, you know what, sis, just shut it off. Just let it go. Just just cut it out. We'll rock with what it is, and we'll just show it on our faces. We'll fake it till we make it. But the problem with that was, the first problem with that was, my mind did it without me realizing it. Like, it wasn't an agreement that we made, like, okay, sis, we're gonna do this, and my mind did it, and I was still carrying on without a clue. So I'm still, and I in hindsight, I can remember distinct experiences or situations where I felt it. I could feel that it was almost like my brain said, Shay, you should have this type of response to this. But I didn't feel it. Like, I remember at one point, one of my students came to me and they were talking to me about how like a family member had gone through chemotherapy and then it was flown out and had died, and whatever the case may be. And normally I would be empathetic to that. Like I would emotionally connect with that situation, with that student, with that person, and kind of like figure out how we can both get through this, right? In that moment, I had to go into my mental file cabinet and dig through what emotions and what reactions and what words would work perfect in the situation to make it seem as though I was empathizing, to make it seem as though I was feeling emotionally what I should have been feeling for that child telling me that. And man, that went on for some time, because it's 2023, and like I said, this portion of it, that age gap, that year, that time span that I gave was 2018 to 2021. I didn't notice this, like really put it into perspective until November of last year. So that's 2022. So I still went an entire another year thinking that I had fixed what I didn't even know was broken, and was now open to having those emotional experiences to help me bond with people in that way. And now I'm in a place where I'm really careful, but I actually got to a point where I was overanalyzing everything, because I was like, okay, we're working on our emotional openness and availability and whatnot. So if this person does this is what we should do, as opposed to just really hearing what was happening and taking the breath and the time to just really connect to that situation and to that person and what they could be feeling in that moment, and allowing that to drive my response, allowing that to drive what I vocalize to that person, or if it did not allow me to vocalize anything because the emotions were just so raw, or the situation did not warrant me saying a word. And I think that with me being able to work through that, and I've been testing it in work settings, I've been testing it in personal, like friendship settings and stuff. And I finally gotten to a point where I feel like I have opened up enough to genuinely be open to dating, genuinely be open to allowing someone into my space and getting to know them and emotionally connect with them. Because I can mentally connect with them. Of course, you can like physically connect to this person. But emotionally, that gap, or at least from my side, the apprehension that would have been there, that wouldn't even allow them to be able to connect mentally or physically, that gap has now, it's decreased to a little. Right now it's just it's a screen door that's blocking that. And the reason for the screen door is to allow for that person to intrigue me mentally, capture me spiritually, in order for me to allow myself to trust them emotionally, and then eventually physically. I definitely have to say this. I have also done a lot of work on managing my emotions and my emotional responses to things, and why. Asking myself why I'm responding to these situations or these people or these words, whatever it is, why I'm responding, why am I having this response to this particular thing, how it's affecting me, and how I can go about getting myself through these instances without having that emotional overload, without just going from 0 to 100 real quick, but to like calmly accept that, okay, this situation, for whatever reason, it angered you. Why did it anger you? Was it because of who said what was said? Was it how they said what was said? Is it triggering something? Does it have nothing to do with the person or what was said, but because it triggered something that you haven't dealt with yet? And so I've been working hard on managing my emotions so that I'm not just completely suppressing them. Now, do I always deal with them up front right then and there? No, because sometimes the situation does not allow for that. And for me, I'm one of those people that sometimes has to shut down, like completely shut down, in order for me to get to that point of figuring out why my emotional response was what it was and why it was even a thing in the first place. So sometimes I just woosah in the moment. I say, okay, Shay, you're having an emotional response to this. We don't know why. We cannot deal with it right now. However, let us remember where we are. Let's push the evaluation off I give myself a time limit, whether it's till the end of the day, whether it's an hour, 30 minutes, or whatever it is. And I make sure I do it, because if not, it's going to bother me. It's going to bother me, or I've seen where I actually completely almost forget about it. And then all of a sudden, it gets triggered by something else and I go off. So in order to avoid that, I've been working a lot on managing my emotions and trying my best not to suppress them, which is to wipe them under the rug, act like they're not important, tell myself I'm overreacting, telling myself I'm doing too much. No, I'm not doing too much. I'm not overreacting. It's not worth throwing under the rug. It's not that it's not a big deal. I need to figure out why I'm having this response to this thing, why I'm having it, and how I can work through it to avoid it happening again. And so having implemented that on a more grandiose scale than I was, because I have been doing that throughout my years. I've done it in relationships and everything. But I had to up the ante on how I was doing it and the level to which I was doing it. So now that I've been doing that and really like taking inventory on all that stuff, that is what has allowed me to really open myself up a lot more in order to give myself the space to emotionally attach to people without throwing old emotions from old situations, from old issues that I had with other people onto them because they might have said something that they did, or we might have been in a situation that I've been in before that caused a particular response. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up before it turns into a TV length episode. So I'm excited for what this revelation has allowed me to uncover about myself. And those are things I will keep to myself. But I'm excited for this new sense of openness and what it's going to attract in my life, who it's going to attract in my life, and what is going to blossom from this newfound availability. So yeah, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. You guys have a blessed week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.